Good morning, good morning, good morning again. I think that my two favourite words today are, and this is, I've now forgotten, malpractice and I'll have to remember the other one. I remember this. Being forgetful. Malpractice. Oh. And hypochondria. You see what I did there? You can chase anyone down a downward spiral. You know what I mean? Like just anyone in any moment. People do it all the time. It's complicated. Like usually this is like if you encounter someone, they do it too quickly. This is an asshole. If they do it more stretched out and put a crown on it, that's called a king. If they if they scare you constantly and chase you, that's called tyrant. If they make you feel ill, you know what I mean? There's so many ills. In fact, a certain group of professionals decided to get a book and put a lot of them in it, on top of the physical book that already existed from accidents and such. And the microscope crowd that explain the microbiological threat. But that's a lot to hold onto, isn't it? For a child, for a very, very, very young child. Perhaps better to just let them experience where they are and find their own answers, their own monsters and solutions, rather than constantly being told stories about monsters, because that is creepy. It's fucking creepy. And it's not King Charles, is it? He's an old guy on a farm holding up the image of what a man looks like when he knows there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of except fear itself. Yeah. And coming, like, this is it's so many will come and go. And if the doctor gets paid every single time, if a doctor got paid every single time I thought I was dying, I could probably get a job as his fucking pool cleaner, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Odd Jobs. Odd Jobs is the title I've decided on this morning, because I've found it in the process of completing odd jobs, great and small. I have learnt most of the most. I have learnt. Fuck. I have learnt the majority of the most important things that I have learnt doing odd jobs. And this is called age arbitrage, because old people don't like doing things. And if they look at something that's not being done, but, oh, what on earth shall I do about said problem? But they look in the drawer and the cupboards are bare. Well, they look in their long-term investment super account and investment property portfolio and the interplay between global tensions in the Middle East and a whole lot of things like that. And when there's 90,000 fucking iPhone holding, flag waving, I'm guessing you have to call them pagan idolatrists, really, wouldn't you? Is that what you'd call them? Pagan idolatrists? Probably. I think that's what everyone's always called them. It's just that no one knows what that is, because they've got fucking fox ears on and they're licking the fucking television to try and get some nourishment from the Coles advertisements. Fucking odd jobs. When responsible people, look in their drawer or their long-term interconnected superannuation, stocks, bonds, all those words that you hear that Steve Kohler guy say on the end of the news. Stephen Kohler. Chris Kohler is your son. Good guy. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. When they look in their drawer and they see that there isn't 90,000 pagan idolatrists screaming bloody fury on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, they may solicit the services of somebody that is a specialist in odd jobs. And I think at this stage we're basically going to go, hey, are you a human being? Are you from ages, let's say 17 to 20 fucking 27? Do you have a brain? Then put yourself here in the place where odd jobs emerge. And then this is going to be the first lesson on how the fuck you negotiate that with the government right now. And I have to be honest, I don't even know the specifics of how exactly the state government and the ATO and the taxation department, because nobody does. Nobody understands that. But they have some fucking websites and shit like that. And there is a thing you get called an ABN. That's a good place to start. There are libraries filled with information about the specifics of how you get sufficiently remunerated for your services within the greater financial region of the Australian federal government's purview. Is that the right words? Fucking Jesus Christ. But if I could sum it down to one thing, okay, and this is our bridge, I believe, because unless we stimulate movement within the fine people of Australia, we are going to stagnate into a filthy, disgusting swamp filled with fucking invasive willow trees. Movement is life. Now, the advice here is movement is life, not things. And there are two types of things that one can purchase. There are things that you need and there are things that you want. And you have to get pretty fucking good at learning this. And unfortunately, the West Australian state premier says, you want daddy. And the government is daddy. And I don't know anyone who works for the government. To put it fucking plainly, it's like, it is like a store, like a shopping mall, I guess, but it got too big. Really? Far too big. And so what I'm requesting is a tax-free decade for 17 to 27-year-olds. That's right, a tax-free decade. Now, of course, the very irresponsible or newcomer or ill or anything like this, individuals in our societies need to be looked after. But there is a whole lot of people, age bracket 27 to yet to be determined, that are not they're not living their lives because they have concerns about their health, about monsters in the closet and out of the closet, about machetes, about 90,000 idolic worshipping pagans with iPhones on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That is a devastating blow. And I think if we could publish the suicide rate of men aged, taxpayers, fathers, all these things, aged, I don't know, 50 to, I think maybe, I don't know, who knows what happens after you hit 90. It'd be quite high, I'm guessing. And then you get into the kind of, you get into the substance abuse, straw camels' backs and things like that comes to mind. And so I think in that situation, you politely ask their representatives to go and fight for Sydney. Is that right? Anyone who's supported this fucking nonsense, this coup? Because here is way different than that. Now, you've got to combine all these things carefully to understand. You got to be able to recognize what a coup is. Even if it's a media coup, you've got to, I don't know. You got to have representation. You've got to have somebody saying, yes, it is I, the mastermind of the Machete iPhone Bridge Alliance. Okay. The Machete iPhone Bridge Alliance. I doubt you're going to get a fucking license for that. Not a sport that I'm familiar with any longer. For a long time, in fact. Couple of hundred years. And then even before that, like, very symbolic. We got out of that nonsense. Oh, of course, got to be. I'd put a firm figure and say 600 years, I think. Something like that. 600 years of radical symbolization, which is not idolatrization, it's symbol. So we symbolically use images, words, and gestures to elicit healthy flow of wonderful, stable, non-violent communication. I think it's something like that. That's a big postcard you just sent from the Middle East. And it was expensive. Photo. Yeah, it's got to be the most expensive photo that's ever been bought. At least Greta Thunberg, she just got a couple of hippies to fucking sail in on a boat. That costs fuck all. And I can explain how. That's really what you do with it after, isn't it? What you do after the photo. Greta's photo. What do we get? Week and a half? Maybe. Plane trip. Juice box. Little bag of chips, and maybe like a cherry ripe or something like that. And a little boat ride. Which is, you can't, but well done. Well done, Greta. That's efficient. Holy shit. It's amazing what a fucking small autistic girl can fucking get done in this world. Yeah. And cheaply, very efficiently. On the other hand, 90,000 screaming fucking pagan idolatizers. Is that? That is expensive. That's organised. That's a fucking. Mm. But as I said, how the fuck are you going to get a license for that? Here. That's why they put machete bins around. Because it's not a fucking golf club. Yeah. Mm. We're going to have to plant a fuckload of bamboo to deal with all those fucking machetes. Better put them in storage. I'd say take all the fucking handles off, stick them in some oil, and stack them flat. And I'll buy them for fucking. At this stage, it's like I'll buy them for 10 cents. Yeah, I'm not giving you any more than fucking 10 cents a blade. Or let's go ton. Let's go 25% over scrap value. Even better. And just use scrap oil in an old fucking shipping container or something like that, please. Yeah, I'll be able to use them. Because you could, repurpose. Probably take the handles off, especially if they're plastic. Just smash them off or burn them. I don't know. Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. What a weird fucking. It's like Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, but it's fucking someone. Anyway, fucking Jesus Christ. That is a. Who can pay? We can just sort it out, eh? Let's just get that done. And the thing is, it's like, I guess it's like, yeah, you can have a machete unless you got fucking a hectare of fucking bamboo in your backyard. You're probably going to get, I'd say, I can't imagine. There should be there's like a machete tax. If you get to a place and you got to arrest someone and there's a machete, everything doubles. Down everything. Just double everything. Double the fucking every single thing. Because bamboo cultivation is obviously a touchy subject in its current situation. And those machetes have obviously been delivered to the wrong fucking address. Yeah, basically. Odd jobs. I'm 24 minutes in. You can't be fucking serious. Odd jobs are any jobs that, a bit of complication. And then there are trades, which is plumbing, electrical, glazing. Yes, glazing is a trade. Painting and decorating is a trade. Tiling is a trade. It's not an odd job. But we don't have many trades because of iPhones and the pagan idol worshippers occupying the bridge. So we're going to have to improvise quickly. We need to digitalise the really good tradesmen. And they've been waiting. They're like, fucking, I've been fucking doing this for so long, you fuckers. But unfortunately, you're going to have to babysit some I don't even know. I don't know what to call them. You're going to have to babysit some potential superstars. There are some potential superstars out there in the making, and you need to find them, and you need to turn them into you. And these potential superstars are going to be your workforce. But there is a judge who judges what you're doing on your trade. Because otherwise we lose all the trades and we all end up as fucking idol worshippers on the bridge. And if some fucking dickhead has left his extension cord, just fucking, he's stuck up a fucking one of those signs that says surveillance in this area up there with his drilling in with his 1/8 drill bit with his nice new DeWalt battery drill. He's kind of just going in. It's pretty thick steel there. Got to be on those girders, I'd say at least 10 to 15 mil thick, maybe even thicker, don't know. Corrosion levels undetermined. Drilling, he snapped 3 already, and then the rivet goes in, and then the extension cord that's charging his iPhone, which he has not maintained, hits the bridge. All those people are dead. Holy shit. If there isn't a immediate, and we have a lot of cameras on the scene on this site there, to do a occupational workplace safety fucking on the entire, but the bridge is always a constant construction site, as one would often joke that once you finished painting one side of the bridge, it would be time to begin again anew on the other side, the first side that had already corroded from the time it took you to get. Are you following me? Are you following me here? So if you're a fucking go-getter, if you've done your time in one of the fine franchises, you know, proving ground for the dedicated, hardworking, you know, all those things, then get yourself a drill. A DeWalt would be my selection. Not always, but right now, DeWalt is my selection. And that should be something that you really put a lot of attention into, and I urge you to discover the complexities of that arrangement. And with the drill, as opposed to a machete, because we haven't got much bamboo, it's like I'm looking around, it's like I'm surrounded by bamboo. I'm like, holy shit. But it's not real. It's not real bamboo. Could be. Anyway, there's there is I guess that would warrant me the right to own a machete. Fuck. Okay. Because I was concerned. That's why I left it in Gin. Yeah, I wasn't concerned about the bylaws and all that. About bamboo. So a drill will get you far, but a brain will get you even further. So have one. You need to charge. Basically, you go and do a job. You go there. You use your small pea brain to attempt to write down all the key issues of the fucking job that is involved with your drill, not with your iPhone. You can use your iPhone, right, to answer a phone call or a Facebook message. And I think the Facebook message is the most important out of that because it's got your face on it, or it should have. And if it doesn't, you shouldn't be doing odd jobs. And you shouldn't have a drill or a machete. And you should probably be on that bridge with all your kin. But basically, once you've got this, you need to find out the cost of all materials you're going to need. You're going to have to fucking find out what material. Like this is, it's like school, but it's 7,000 times harder. And it doesn't give you much. But what it does give you is golden. It gives you freedom. It gives you autonomy. It gives you a chance. That's what it gives you. It gives you a chance of getting off that bridge. Basically. I think Australia right now is divided between who would be on that bridge and who would not be on that bridge. I think a lot of people take that number and think all types of things. But I think mainly they think who'd be stupid enough to go on that fucking bridge. That's the problem because it means there's far more people that would have gone on that bridge than actually did. Now, this is why it's important to understand why the people were on the bridge, what they're doing. Do they have a picture of their face on their Facebook? Do they have anything on record of themselves on the places that people frequent on those devices that obviously cued them into place and then, thank God, cued them, ushered them back into the city? Because one perception of what an odd job is really is a cultural issue. An odd job is painting a door, is planting a tree, it's brushing a dog. For an old man who can't brush his dog anymore, but he would quite like to have his dog brushed, so as to maintain his earned and deserved time in his elderly years. Now, the most important part here, and this is really going to be a hard one for Western Australia, because Western Australia has a bunch of mining, gambling cowboys living in it. Now, whenever you have mining, gambling cowboys, you get approximately 20% of them will have their head screwed on in some good direction and will make responsible things. They will make the responsible decision to play that fucking game of roulette wisely. A lot of them don't make it. A lot of them end up lost. A lot of them, Now, the cowboy life is the cowboy life. It's the luck of the draw. It's the fucking aces or nothing. But it's also the responsible stewardship because of entrusted deeds. And if we have to come to the conclusion of, in Australia, are you a man because you have a machete in the back of your Honda Civic, an iPhone, and a flag on the bridge? Or are you a man because you brush a man's dog because he wishes to live out his elderly years with the respect, admiration, courtesy that he deserves for his service to the construction of not just the bridge, but the entire nation that is being scourged by these handheld devices right now. Now, the wonderful thing about Australia is that is Australia. The wonderful thing about Australia is that this is taking place and I guess we didn't have that. Completely locked down. Get it? Now, I reckon we fucking do. I reckon in the hearts and minds of all Australians, from King Charles III, reigning Emperor of the British Empire, all the way down to Bronson Youghal, cell block 16C, Hakea Prison, that just found a book in the book library. And on page 333, there's an Instagram name that he writes in permanent ink in his brain. And the day that I meet that individual, on his beautiful property with his beautiful wife and beautiful children, I guess that's when and sorry, forgot to add something. And when we share a stroll down to I guess that sandpit, we come to an accord. Now, at the moment, that is uncertain here. That is a twisted hellhole. That is a nightmare. And that is what this individual wishes me to express. And I guess we have to get to the bottom as to why that is. As always. Unfortunately, these countries arrange that you have to fight your way to the top in order to protect a man at the bottom. And then I guess I'll finish by saying, well, I guess we're all on that fucking bridge, aren't we? Every single one of us. Now, if I was standing in that sandpit with my opponent that had finally found me, to, I would say, inevitably thank me. Inevitably. Because anyone that would do that, I would consider them obviously a friend. That's a lot of effort. Obviously, somebody inviting you to their house, would always be like on good terms. I guess it comes down to the delivery mechanism of the message. And I think this is where excuses in this current era are pretty thin. Pretty thin. Now, knocking on someone else's door is a process. It's like you knock on a door. Now, if your intention is to disrupt the person in that house, there is a chain of information you should be very aware of in this country. And the order of that arrangement is this individual an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? Yes. In this case, this individual would be. Now, an invitation to an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander in this country at the moment, I'd say it pretty much depends on where that person is as to how you receive the invitation. If that's some, well-renowned elder in Arnhem Land, you're probably going to film that and put it on Channel 9, you know what I mean? With a bunch of Toyotas in there to sell Toyotas. If that's a homeless Aboriginal man pissing in a hedge in inner city Melbourne or Sydney, I'd say you're going to phone the police at some stage, depending on his persistence on said invitation. But this seems a bit askew, doesn't it? Because those cities weren't there. If I placed a 200-ton concrete block across Kwinana Freeway tonight, good golly, that would cause a kerfuffle. If you place Sydney between an Aboriginal man's ancestors Holy shit. You're going to send him off into a fucking spiral, aren't you? A lot of things to learn in a hurry. I mean, look at how much speed the fucking children have to be on just to fucking have a hope in hell at learning about all the potential monsters and horrific fucking incidents and numbers, phone numbers and dates and maps and places and politicians, genders. That's a fucking stroll through hell. There isn't a bypass like our politicians like to fucking gloriously place on our freeways so that kangaroos and such can fucking pass through, because kangaroos and koalas are a lot more cooperative than Aboriginal people. Unless, you got a big bag full of cash and a photography crew and a fucking electric train installed by Sky Electrics China in Xi Jinping's fucking ornamental cabinet, bottom left drawer under the swivel lock, behind 2 ceramic ponies. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But thank you. It's a wonderful train and a big bag of cash. The problem isn't with investing. Wonderful investments. Cash is not good. I think official donations is a better arrangement long-term to make. And I think that the real estate agents need to stop putting their faces on the signs quite so often. We have Chinatown, okay? We can hold on to that. And now we have Chinatown and a Chinese electric train set going to a pretty good fucking motel prostitution ring, I guess, as far as Chinese train set motel prostitution encampment goes. And we'd just like you to put make a decision on the whereabouts of the situation, I guess. And then we can harmoniously coexist. And for the life of me, Perth is a fucking doozy to do this with. And so that's why I've innovated this process of doing it conceptually. Having a go. Let's give it a fucking go to do it conceptually. And let's make the divide the phones. Because that's all there really is. And then I think we all collectively have our little cringe moment where we go, oh, this is a bad fucking situation. And then we get really good at being able to speak to Chinese people, I guess. Yeah. The tension held in this is so fucking weird. I think because it's electric, we can do it. we need immediate walls to be erected. Beautiful walls. This is a great job. And not those fucking concrete walls. Yeah. Greenmount Hill is a castle. That's the best way to. Greenmount Hill is a castle. Entrance. It's a it's a big fucking castle, and it goes up. And then it kind of stretches all the way to, I've got to say, Ellenbrook. Down that fucking Neves Road there. From Neves Road, it goes up. Yeah. Neves Road. Goes out, I think it's Pinjar Road, out near the Barbagallo. To Wanneroo Road. Then it goes left and a quick right. All the way to the lagoon in Yanchep. Then everything north of that is not China. Got to not say China. There we go. It's Chinese. Now, I'd say this is where we need a Chinese representative. That has his balls in a fucking sledgehammer to do with our process, not theirs. You can have a fucking train set and a fucking whorehouse. Every fucking 14-year-old fucking kid's got a fucking whorehouse in their pocket. I didn't fucking do it. Apple did it. I work for Google. I guess that's a bit bigger than Epstein. So that is Chinese. I wouldn't say it's, I mean, it's like Chinese property. Good golly, that's a fucking complicated. And I don't think all of it is Chinese. See, this is the. I'd say it's like you're in a Chinese hot zone. You're more susceptible to Chinese things. On the other side of that line, good golly, no, there's nothing. Yeah, so it's a Chinese free zone. Yeah, that moved too far north with old Gordon Yarnold. Holy shit. And he called himself a cowboy. Because we've got to have two rocks. For obvious reasons. So being in the more Chinese bit, it's obviously more Chinese. I know this when I go to that place in Northbridge and I get the duck. know what I mean? It's really good. But on the other side of the Chinese bit, there is no Chinese stuff. Or it's going to get complicated as to why there's so much fucking Chinese stuff north of that line to feed their piggies with. Do you know? Fuck me. It's the oldest profession, and so, you know, you don't need a drill to do it. And it's oldest profession, you don't need a drill. And pretty much it's the most, it has the most DIY how-to videos of any subject. So pretty low barrier of entry, I guess. But one would argue whether perhaps oversaturation is imminent. It looked awfully wet on the bridge. Basically, it's. I don't know how much really of all of that one could afford. You're only going to milk those old codgers ever so often, you know. And a lot of them are dead now because you milked them too hard. And the fucking, like, the next bit of that looks far too much like 90,000 machete fucking wielding psychopaths on Sydney Harbour Bridge for my liking. It really does. Yeah. How would one solve this puzzle? This is where I'm pissed off. I've run out of marijuana, an incredibly easy, beautiful plant to grow that, I don't know, it's like a dance. It like dances with my perception and the environment and my desires in this really beautiful way. It makes art. It doesn't make fucking miniature train brothels. Yeah. But miners love to screw. They do. They love it. And they love their drugs, just like Ben Cousins. The lifetime value of a drill is a good exchange. You want to spend about $400 to $600 on a dual lithium drill set from a reputable seller, man brand, from a reputable organisation. I would say Sydney Tools. and not Bunnings. Too many Bunnings flags on that bridge. Jesus Christ. And when you once you get to Sydney Tools and you buy your drill, you should buy an impact driver and a battery operated drill. 18 volt, I think, is still pretty snazzy. That's a dual drill set. You can have one on either side, and it's in a holster, and you can fucking drill so many fucking holes with those fuckers. It's not even funny. And this is going to shock a few people. Don't get a ute. Do not get a ute. Okay? And I'm sorry. If you're in the country, get a ute. There's no Chinese people in the country. Don't worry. Yeah, but if you're not in the country, I wouldn't even get a fucking car at this stage. I would have a Facebook profile where you speak such as this about the fact that you just got a drill, perhaps your dog, and I don't know, you talk about why you want to get some money and what your desires are long term. That's the trifecta of old people questions. Then you very targetedly on Facebook, you would select a very small area with a picture with you, with your two drills, and then commence negotiation of said odd jobs in a manner that is suitable. So and then once you get your estimates on materials and you don't have a car, you may have a bike, because 2 drills and a bike, we may hack that soon to perhaps combine those two in a wonderful fucking extravaganza of drill and bike symbiosis. Or we might not. In the meantime, exercise is a fucking wonderful thing, and a bike is a really good thing. And you're not going far. If you live in the suburbs or the city, that you have an astronomical amount of clients that live in the surrounding areas. They just didn't know that there was a young, passionate, non-prostitute, odd job superstar fucking sitting there. And yeah, be polite, clean up after you finished the job, and charge way more than you think. You stupid little fuckwits. And pay way more than you think. You old fucking cocksuckers. And how do you pay? How does one pay? Well, first, the glorious majoritively women of this fine country of ours, you must survey your estate and make very careful, cautious decisions about your desires long term, and you need to carefully, calculatedly write all those details down in an estate plan, so that your attempt to escape the patriarchal chains and whips and savagery of shacklement to the stove and you need to make realistic projections with all these factors at play. I'd say. And the time to do that would be right now. That's when it would be. It'd be start getting specific. The fucking iPhone prostitution, toy train, Uber, royal show only comes but once a century. And so it seems like you've all got quite a lot of show bags, and there's quite a lot of interesting things in there. And then you should, I don't know, perhaps find a direction more towards, I don't know, the country regions, the regional areas. I'd suggest north, politely and discreetly. You know, the old sins, what happens in a more Chinese region stays in a more Chinese region. Everyone is anew once they walk across that line. And there's no hurry. There's absolutely no fucking hurry. Except for the massive hurry that there is. But then I don't mean hurry as in like stay at home, don't move, this is a robbery like the Labour Party just did. I mean in a consolidation of all your debts, credit card payments in a timely manner with, I think, like there basically needs to be like abortion clinics, because God knows there's a lot of them now, but it's a bankruptcy clinic. I think for young ladies that have walked the cobblestones of freedom, I guess. Perhaps if for the participants of the royal show that still have a father, they should I don't know, perhaps look after their father. In whatever sense that means, in the sense of, well, is he almost dead? Then you should probably look after him. And does he have a plan to build a beautiful house in the small country town that you were majoritively raised in? And is that a better place than a Chinese brothel? I would say yes, because I have been inside a couple of wonderfully maintained Chinese brothels. And they've all assured me that it's pretty good, but Better somewhere else. Do you know? It's got to be clear as well where the other castles are, because the one in the hills is one. There is another one in kind of Cottesloe. You'll have to draw a fucking map better and build a wall. That's an odd job. That's a more sophisticated odd job. You can't have a bunch of hypochondriac malpractice victims, scrambling over the corpses of their fellow rattled populace, kind of attempting to seek retribution in places that they should not extend that focus to. And a wall's always been a pretty good thing, and we have granite in the regions up in we would love to assist you with building a granite wonderful wall and assist you continuously with the protection of your regions. We hope that this gesture of goodwill to clean up after the royal show and continue a wonderful arrangement into the future of security and building you a stone wall, that I would very much appreciate if you would have a look over my tender for said project and independently, perhaps using Facebook, perhaps form a committee that deals in that negotiation, and we can come to some type of arrangement for it. And in the process, I'd like to build an artificial wave in City Beach. All right. And it'll be world class. World class. And I can pretty much vouch that the temperature of the water in Tullamarine is pretty much equivalent to the temperature of our water here in winter. So I'd maybe approach, it's got to be Billabong. I'd approach Billabong to be the headline brand at the top of that, because Billabong was always my favourite. And the Billabong City Beach Pro, I think. And it's bodyboard on one side and stand up on the other, and then we switch. And I reckon we can get pretty heavy peeling, like pretty fearsome, pretty deep. It's a really deep fall away, gutter drenching fucking like, ooh, yeah. With an amazing stadium really around it already. Not much needs to be done. Just subtle. Yeah. Call it the Billabong Castle Pro at City Beach. Whew. Fucking how's that name? Yeah, I think that ought to do it. There's other areas. Bassendean City, Bassendean Bridge is the borderland of the city. Midland is a ongoing negotiation, I'd say. But fucking little old Midland's going to be a bit of a jewel. Who would have thought that? It really is. And that's wonderful. And I think we need a park called Tooheys Gardens. Yeah. It's a I think as a I would love to see a yin yang. There we go. A yin yang made out of English flora and fauna and Australian flora and fauna, like scaling up small shrubs up to this big thing, intertwining in a never-ending cosmic battle with a big clock in the middle. Can we do that? Of course we can. That's dead easy. That's an odd job and a half. That's about 10 people for, I'd say, 6 months. Really good manager, budget, all those things. That's better than a fucking racetrack, because God knows the whole of fucking suburbia is a fucking racetrack. You built a fucking gigantic racetrack. Holy moly. All I hear is sirens. Like Grand Theft Auto out there. I wonder why. Got a bunch of fucking snorkeling fucking crackheads chasing fucking Chinese fucking sex slaves around. The boomers are just waking up to this, and I think they're going to be pissed off. I think there's only one place they're going to point at. I hope that place is, I don't know what. It's been getting hard. Obviously, I said he blocked me off Facebook. That seems weird. Weird behaviour from the Premier. I'd love for just everyone to realize, and this happened a long time ago, and that was our bridge moment, I'd say. That was our bridge moment. Far more efficient than 90,000 fucking machete-wielding pagan idolatrists on the fucking Sydney Harbour Bridge. You can't block a citizen of the state that you can't, and then try and ban the fucking Jesus Christ. And then spend money on it just as a crazy concept. I've heard mental disturbance runs in it. No, I haven't. You're not allowed to say that. Fucking artsy. Jesus Christ. What do you call the Nazis? Mental disturbance? They always look mentally disturbed. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wonder what else. I'd better think. I'd better zoom out a bit on the map. I can read a paper map and the map in my head, and the map on the computer, and the map on the phone. But it's instantly, as soon as I say phone, I'm like, I just get sick. I haven't paid with a phone in a very, very long time. My house is a very, very, very unplugged house. It doesn't have a fucking anything because Candlelight is grouse. That's a fucking national anthem. Country was started under candlelight. Can't see why it shouldn't be maintained under candlelight, especially under the circumstances of telephonic and electronic interference and encroachment into baseline humanitarian concepts such as a man's right to converse with his governmental imposer. Yeah. Oh, if Sterling could see me now. If Sterling could see me now. Don't remember learning about Sterling in school. Learned about Captain Cook. Didn't learn about Sterling. My brother did. He was smarter than I was. He was more caring than I am. He was more patient than I am. He was. He had a sensitivity that would have fed me well, and hardly anything am I superior of any importance. But he knew who Sterling was. Yeah. He told me the story about the Swan River settlement, and I said, "Shut up, nerd," or something like that. I was quite mean to him. And I guess if not told of monsters in some professional's book that he buys from the international professional supply warehouse, my hardness, my tough love would have prepared him well for real monsters that emerge. Obviously, the double-edged sword of being a good listener and a good student and a sensitive, more or less questioning, compliant, I think is the word Mark McGowan used. My estimation would be he complied himself to death. I reckon, at a very early age. Yeah. Can't remember how many years ago, it was a long time. I said, my biggest fear was going crazy. Why was that? Why was that? And what is crazy? I'd say being the premier of the largest invasiary brothel building aircraft carrier train set on iPhones. Would be in that book for sure. I think. Yeah, I really do think it would be in that book. Now to hold a candle for the machete wielders out there. Hold a machete in your mind. Not in your hand, unless you're cutting bamboo. And only Chinese people do that. A machete in your mind will sharpen your mind. We use the analogy sword. There's all types of different blades throughout time. Machete in the City is a nuclear submarine in the Thames. Is a Russian nuclear submarine in the Thames. Basically. Machete in your mind, or sword in your mind. Eventually, this sword may turn into an image of a pen or a quill. That's when you know you've become an Australian. It is never a gun, because a gun can do accidentally to somebody not a part of any confrontation. What it would take a skilled master to do with even a machete. In seconds. So guns are. And as you step down from these things, and you have to know where you are. As I said, a machete in the City is a nuclear bomb in the terrorist nuclear bomb in the Thames. In this country, and a pen has an awful lot of writing to do. And one worries that a fibre optic mobile phone service and satellite communication might be a little bit quicker. And I guess this paradigm was accepted because this was the way that they carried on in those World Trade Centers buildings that fell down in a flaming mess. Queen Elizabeth, she always had a flair for the fucking outrageous, don't you think? The New York City World Trade Center. What a ridiculous concept. What a ridiculous concept. World Trade Center. Obviously, if people were to organise odd job participants in harmonious symbiosis with responsible female landholders and astucious investors, they would end up gaming the system to turn the whole fucking thing into a Chinese brothel. War. A Chinese brothel machete iPhone war. And they learnt their lesson. They don't all get in the same building anymore. That was too easy, Liz. Queen Elizabeth, Your Majesty. I mean, you've thrown us a fucking curveball here because you went in too hard and fast. That's a problem between the interplay between a wonderful English horse, dog breeding, pigeon racing, landholding estate holder and a hideous financial robotic super predator. She didn't stand a chance, did she? May she rest in peace. But boy, oh boy, did Charles fucking come to that fucking situation pleasingly. He took the meaning of just zoom out to its inevitable conclusion quite snappily and efficiently, and with naval British Royal Navy precision. Dickie would be fucking impressed with you, I can say. Impressed. Bloody big rescue operation for Irish terrorists, Chinese prostitutes, and fucking Uber drivers. One would hope that they will take to horticulture and skilled work as rapidly and with as much enthusiasm as this little Pirates of Penzance production on our bridge yesterday. The Opera House is there so you go to the Opera House. You don't turn our country into an opera house. Yeah. Because that's just fucking weird. Again, the inevitable conceptual bubble manifesting from NASA's exploration into looking at other countries with hungry eyes from computers. Oh, shit. Oh, there we go. Computers weren't far behind phones, were they? It's a long way to get back to that fucking candle. I said candle, not candelabra. I'm pretty sure that thing that Jews hold up and use for fucking candles, I think that's actually made, that's a device for making baskets. I think it's the oldest, like, Easter egg of all time. Your guy was Moses. He was in a basket. It's like, that's what it is. It's a basket making implement. You kind of, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I keep thinking that. Because everyone else was quite comfortable in the dark. And so, but with Serenity, you have to come to their rescue because they span the entirety of this and they're interwoven like a basket at every level. And so I'm doing this on those things. It's a spectrum, so to say. It's a amplification of new concepts that has been distributed. And now we're at the inevitable negotiation between a stable, although unrealistic for all of you now, but a stable, responsible, hard and fast, rock solid conception of what a man can do, and the outrageous conceptions on the other side. And I would suggest an interweave here, and the phone is the place. So everyone just got to get back to official currency, Australian dollar with King Charles on it now, and do all required banking with that. Not so difficult. You have to do both. Yeah. You have to do both. And then we need to I guess at this point we need to have a daily, and it's just one news article. It's not every day that says breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, death, 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 kill, murder, flu, injection, jab, 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 like death rates. It's just Australian currency physical versus Australian currency on a phone or on the internet. And the rest will magically do its thing, according to my knowledge of economics. And I would quite like, at this point, I think, for all banks in Australia to be disallowed from basically selling currency, and that currency to be redirected to the Perth Mint. For them to make it, which I think it comes from there anyway. But you've got to get it from there. You've got to buy it with the digital stuff. This is, I think it's referred to as a float. Yeah, I think this is how it works. I'm going to put a bit of thought into this today. That's a very technical thing that I can spend the afternoon pondering over. The interplay of how one would go about purchasing currency legally, and to what the steps are in order to directly purchase currency based on an arrangement directly with the Crown. The intermediary of a bank is no longer acceptable to me, and so I would very much like an intermediary that makes sense, so as to insulate myself from this wartime attack on our financial system. That isn't going to look like two big fucking buildings falling down. It's going to look like 90,000 machete wielding, iPhone holding idolaters, pagan idolaters, sitting in their living rooms contemplating how many dollars they have once they smash their phone with a hammer. How many dollars do I have once I smash my iPhone with a hammer? My guess is they've got quite a sufficient amount of dollary dues to do things like this. And that's why there needs to be, in this one occasion, this very extraordinary, political statement, there needs to be, unfortunately, a facial recognition capture of every single person occupying that bridge yesterday, and a complete hold and detain order on any distribution of Australian legal tender. Unfortunately, obviously. But they will have the opposing system in which there will be anonymous vending machines. And we do guarantee anonymous. This can be a discreet process. We do have your information, but we want this to be calm and, civilized. These vending machines will, all you got to do is, it's like a reverse ATM. A lot of banks already have these, but they'll need to order more. And you put all your dollary dues in, and it gives you your time zone credits on your card. That works in all the fine institutions in the place where you live. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, the register's on Facebook, and it's in physical currency with the king's face on it. I see what you did there. Oh, shit. No, we can't do anything about that. And then the banks will figure out some way to do this with their distribution of assets. And the world will calculate all those. Oh, imagine all the abacuses going fucking mad across the fucking Middle East. Pigeons flying to caves, fucking shipping containers fucking moving across Russia without hideous fucking electronic fucking automated murdering devices. Oof. It's a sight to behold, isn't it? Someone sneaks in and blows up all your fucking bombers with kids' toys. That's a new image for the African meth injecting fucking AK-47 holders. That's an upgrade from that, I can tell you what. Yeah. Pretty nasty one. You know what I mean? Bit like a virus. Like, how are you going to keep that in? Fucking, that exists now. Now no one can have drones. But they already all exist. It's like, that's a problem for another day. Let's deal with the currency problem. It's basically going to affirm securely that the digital paradigm exists in cities. However, now after this restabilisation that it manifests, the physical world is to be enjoyed outside the city limits. Yeah. Very confusing how I'd feel if someone said, I'll pay you on... It's like, this... I'll pay you on... It's like, I'll pay you on the bridge. I'll pay you on the bridge. Back in my day, if you were found being paid on a bridge, in cash, with some type of device that contains a hideous amount of child pornography held in the cloud of the connected infrastructure, you see. Like the Library of Alexandria, except it's the library of Alice and Susie and little Jimmy and little Rodrigo. Well, golly, I can't fucking see why no one jumped off that bridge yesterday. Would have been the ultimate. There's surely a few fucking grandiose, bipolar, delusional fucking supernova divas on that fucking bridge that wanted to make it all about them. Can't for the light. Maybe you can't get, I don't know, maybe there was barriers. Still, a couple of barriers to get by to fucking put your life in the fucking annals of history. The largest ever fucking, covert envelope passing in human history, but not that covert. Wow. God, I talk some fucking shit, don't I? And I say at this point, it's like I appreciate the nod from Robert Irwin that he's just continuously talking. That, and he just nailed it. That made me so happy. Every bit of it. Yeah. And fuck, that Land Cruiser looked good, didn't it? I'd love to get me one of them. We'll see. I'll have to see. I'll have to wait for this rip. It looks all right out the back, but I'm not sure whether I'm up to the the challenge. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait on the beach and just watch these sets for a while before I paddle out. Yeah. Well, that ought to do it. That ought to do it. I think I'm going to go and eat some lunch and watch the telly. I wonder if Roger's going to make an appearance on the television. And I hope he's all right if I haven't heard him, but maybe he's come down with something like a flu. Fucking flute playing accident. That's what I meant to say. With his childhood friend. Fucking hell. 1 minute the Premier, next you're in a hideous flute playing fucking accident with your friend from school. And you can't continue with either flute playing. No, of course, nobody ever gives up the flute. You can't continue with being the Premier under these circumstances. Wishing Roger and his family a healthy recovery, and we thank him for his tireless, though perhaps sometimes erratic, governance for his period to which he governed. Dangerous game, the old flute playing. I always left that up to my older brother. I didn't go near the flute. Alright. Fucking hell. I've run out of weed. I have to fucking hop, skip and jump back out to the wild-skied, horizon-filled fucking wonderland of the Northwest and start cultivating some flowers, I think. It always comes to, when he's a father, you got to buy yourself flowers. Can't expect your kids to do it in this day and age. Too busy. Just all too busy. Hooroo.